I found out the woman I thought I was falling in love with had slept with her ex the same night we had our first date. Let that sink in, but instead of flipping out, yelling or crying, I stayed calm that I gathered proof, and then I sent it to her entire family. But before we get there, let me take you back that I'm James. 38 years old, construction project manager based out of North Carolina, divorced. No kids. My ex-wife left me 5 years ago for her yoga instructor. Yeah, I know, Lifetime movie stuff. It crushed me, no lie. Took a couple years of therapy and long hours on job sites to pull myself back together. I built routines that I focused on what I could control, my work, my health, my peace. Then, last summer, I met Daisy. She was 36, sharp as a tack, working operations for a medical supply company that we met at a friend's barbecue. One of those late August things with plastic chairs, too many beers, and cheap ribs. She had this easy laugh, one of those that makes you want to keep the joke going just to hear it. Again, she asked smart questions. She didn't dodge mine. That we exchanged numbers and I called her the next day. None of that waiting games nonsense. Our first date was at a quiet Italian spot downtown that we talked for hours. Books, politics, travel, work, failed relationships. No small talk. When I dropped her off, we kissed, just a short, careful kiss. But it felt like a door opening. Like maybe I wasn't done with love after all, and for a while I wasn't. With Daisy, everything felt easy, comfortable, but never boring. Weekends turned into rituals. Friday nights at her place with takeout and old sitcoms. Saturday mornings at the farmer's market near my building. Sundays we spent curled up on my worn leather couch arguing about which movie to watch. Sometimes she'd fall asleep halfway through, her head on my shoulder, her hand still tangled in mine. That we met each other's friends without drama. She fit right into my world. Laughing with my crew over beers after a ballgame, teasing me when my buddy's wife dragged us all to a painting class. That I wasn't just a +1 in her life either, she wanted me there. In it. 6 months in, she invited me to her nephew's christening. That was the first time I met her family. Her parents were polite, a little stiff at first, but her dad warmed up fast once he found out I could talk for hours about old Mustangs and fishing trips. Her brother Tim was an easy guy to like. That we swapped numbers after that day, talking about planning a weekend to hit the lakes. It wasn't all champagne and fireworks. No one was pretending it was perfect, but there were no red flags, no weird moments that made me second-guess things. No disappearing acts. No cryptic texts, just two adults building something real one ordinary day at a time. And for the first time since my divorce, I actually started to believe it could last. That I thought I'd found the person I could grow old with. Turns out I was wrong. It was a Saturday night, just another one of those peaceful evenings that had started to feel like home. We cooked dinner together. Nothing fancy, just chicken stir-fry and a cheap bottle of red. She insisted, tasted better than the expensive stuff. Afterward, we crashed on the couch, some random action movie flickering across the TV, the volume low. Daisy curled up against me, warm and familiar, and drifted off somewhere around the second car chase scene. That I didn't move. That I didn't want to. Her phone, sitting face up on the coffee table, buzzed once, then again. That I figured I'd silence it. That I didn't want it to wake her. That I reached over, careful not to jostle her too much, and picked it up. That's when I saw it. A notification popped up. A name I recognized, though I hadn't heard it in months. Marcus, her ex. The message preview burned itself into my mind before I could even blink. Remember the night after your first date? I sat there for a moment, frozen, my heart thudding dully in my chest. That I didn't want to jump to conclusions. That I didn't want to be that guy, snooping through someone's phone. But my gut, the same one that kept me alive on job sites and in sketchy deals, told me something was very wrong. And so, quietly, almost without breathing, I tapped the screen. That I scrolled up, and what I found made my blood run cold. The conversation between Daisy and Marcus was like a punch I didn't see coming. It started off casual, some "How have you been?" small talk, a few jokes about old memories. Then it shifted, fast. Marcus wrote, "Still with that construction guy?" Daisy, "Yeah, still with James, about 9 months now." And then Marcus dropped the bomb, "Stable enough to handle the fact you slept with me the same night you met him?" I just stared at the screen, my mind trying to reject what my eyes were seeing. Daisy answered, trying to brush it off, "That was a mistake. That I was confused. That we had just broken up, remember?" Marcus wasn't letting it go. "Didn't seem confused when you showed up at my door at midnight, or when you left his jacket in my car." I scrolled further, more reminiscing, more vivid details about that night. About how she had smiled, how she'd kissed him like no time had passed. That night, the night I went home feeling like I'd met someone different. someone worth believing in. Meanwhile, she was at her ex's house that I felt the world tilt a little, not anger, not yet, just this cold emptiness flooding into my chest, like a vacuum, sucking the hope right out of me. Without thinking, I took screenshots of everything, every message. Every time-stamped reminder that I hadn't been crazy, I'd just been lied to from the very start. Then, I placed her phone back exactly where it had been, let the movie keep playing, sat there in the dark, Daisy breathing softly against my arm, while inside me something quiet but irreversible cracked apart. Half an hour later, she stirred awake, smiled sleepily, and asked, "How long was I out?" "About an hour," I said, keeping my voice even. "Your phone kept buzzing, might want to check it." She picked it up, saw the messages, and for just a second, just a flicker, her whole face changed, but I said nothing, not yet. The next morning felt like any other that I made coffee. She padded around the kitchen in one of my old t-shirts, humming under her breath, pretending like nothing had happened, like everything was still perfect. That I watched her move around the house, this woman I thought I knew, and something inside me hardened. That I waited until we sat down for breakfast, eggs, toast, the Sunday crossword spread between us. Then, casually, I asked, "Hey, Daisy, when was the last time you talked to Marcus?" She blinked, froze for half a second, then laughed too loudly. "Marcus? Oh my God, forever ago. Why?" I sipped my coffee. "Really? Not, say, 9 months ago? Maybe, the night we met?" There was a pause. A long, uncomfortable one. Her fork clattered against the plate, then she shifted tactics, rolled her eyes, gave a dismissive wave. "James, that was ages ago. It didn't mean anything. That you're really going to dig through ancient history?" Still calm, I asked, "So you're saying you didn't go to his place that night?" Her voice sharpened. "Why are you even asking me this? What, you've been snooping through my phone?" There it was, the pivot, blame me, make me the villain. "You had no right," she snapped, anger rising in her cheeks. "That's such a breach of trust that I can't believe you'd violate my privacy like that." I let her rant, let her scramble, let her accuse, and when she finally ran out of steam, when the silence between us got thick enough to cut with a knife, I just said one thing: "I know everything, Daisy, and I have the proof." Her mouth opened, closed, opened again, like she wanted to argue but couldn't find the words. For once, she had no move left, and that's when I knew that I was done. After that, there was no big fight, no dramatic shouting match. I just stood up from the table, walked into the bedroom, and grabbed the overnight bag Daisy usually kept at my place. I packed it neatly, her clothes, her shoes, her toothbrush, and set it by the door. When she realized what I was doing, her voice changed again, pleading, soft. "James, wait, we can talk about this." It wasn't serious. It didn't mean anything. I didn't even look at her. I just said, "It meant enough for you to lie about it for 9 months. She followed me around the house while I cleaned up, grabbing random things she left behind, a scarf, a hair clip, a pair of sandals she used to kick off by the door. At one point, she reached for my arm. "Please, James, don't do this. We're good together. You're just overreacting." That was her last shot: minimize, guilt, manipulate. I didn't react. I didn't argue. I just opened the door and held out the bag. She stood there for a second, stunned. Then, without another word, she took it and left. Later that night, after blocking her number, I made a decision that I didn't want revenge. I didn't want to scream at her in front of friends. I didn't want to sink to her level. But I wasn't going to let her keep pretending to be someone she wasn't either. I opened my phone, found the screenshots of her conversation with Marcus and attached them to a message. Then I sent it to the group chat I'd been added to after her nephew's christening. The one with her mom, her dad, her brother Tim, and a few close cousins. No caption. No angry rant, just the truth. Let them see for themselves who she really was. It didn't take long. The first red receipt popped up in less than 2 minutes, then another. And another. First, there was silence. I sat there in my kitchen, the clock ticking louder than it should have. Sipping cold coffee and waiting. Then my phone lit up. Tim, her brother, called me. I almost didn't pick up, but curiosity got the better of me. When I answered, his voice was low, almost apologetic. "Man. I'm sorry. I had no idea. None of us did. I just said, it's not your fault." He hesitated, like he wanted to say more, but then just added, "You deserved better, you know that, right?" A few minutes later, Daisy's dad sent a message to the group chat, one short line: "We raised her better than this." Her mom didn't say anything publicly. But about an hour later, she sent me a private message. "I'm sorry that you'll always be welcome in our home." Meanwhile, Daisy, she spiraled, she called, texted, left voicemails crying, raging, begging. When that didn't work, she started posting vague quotes on social media about betrayal, and privacy, and people changing. It didn't matter, the truth was out, the mask was off. From what Tim later told me, her family pretty much shut her out for a while. She lost the golden girl status she'd always carried so easily. No more family gatherings. No more inside jokes, just silence. A part of me felt bad that I won't pretend I didn't, but a bigger part, the part that had sat alone in the dark that night, feeling everything inside me shatter, knew I hadn't just done it out of spite, that I did it so she couldn't hurt someone else the way she hurt me. And for the first time in months, I could finally breathe. After everything, I gave myself time to rebuild, not just jump into something new, not try to fix the emptiness with someone else. That I started small, went back to therapy. 3 sessions a month, just me in a worn leather chair, and a lot of uncomfortable truths about why I'd ignored my instincts for so long. That I picked up new hobbies too, things I'd always wanted to try but never made time for. That I learned to play the guitar, badly, at first, but that wasn't the point. That I joined a local hiking group, went on long weekend trips where nobody knew my name or my history. Sometimes Tim would text me about fishing trips, and yeah, we still talk. Strange how family ties can twist and rearrange after something breaks open. As for Daisy, I don't hate her, not anymore. Hate takes energy I'd rather spend living. That if I learned anything from this, it's that love built on lies is like a house on sand, looks pretty for a while, but it always collapses when the storms come. And honestly, I'd rather be alone, standing on solid ground, than lost in a castle made of false promises. There's a strange kind of peace in that realization, that a quiet, unshakable kind, the kind you can build a real life on.